Hello everyone, welcome back to RCH Builders. So today we are going to start to work on getting the sheetrock up down here. We've got a few more spots like right here where we got to do a little bit of insulation still. Don't have to, but I'm wanting to put it there, that foam board, and then we'll also do a little bit right here. If y'all can hear me, this is an example of how the rest of Tyler's day is going to go, because we are about to do. He's been begging me, because we did the whole upstairs. She worked the whole upstairs, and he's been begging me for days. Just couldn't wait for me to come down here and so we could start doing this down here, because sheetrock is Tyler's favorite thing to do.
I'll cut you.
Tyler absolutely hates sheetrock. The only thing he hates worse is doing a roof. So, but sometimes we just got to do it. But that's what we're gonna do. If you do enough sheetrock work, I would highly advise getting one of these. You can buy them at Harbor Freight. I think Northern Tool sells them. Probably there's quite a few other big chains that are all around. Where you could get one. You could rent one from Home Depot, I believe. I don't think they sell one unless you maybe order it online. But this right here will make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you're hanging 12-foot sheets on the ceiling, which is what we're going to do. So the way that we usually do this is we will hang the ceilings first, then we'll put the next section of the wall, we'll push up against it with that, and then that helps hold the edges of the sheetrock up a lot better. And it just, I don't know, to me it's a lot easier. The bottom sheet you can then use like a Wonder Bar or a sheetrock jack to just push up into it. And using this machine, this little sheetrock jack, is so much easier right here than holding it. On the walls, we just hold it up there. It's not as big a deal. But for the ceiling with the 12-foot, it's so much easier with that. Saves your back a lot. Alright, so after we put this piece up here, I got sick and tired of running around trying to fight all the stuff that was right here. So we took a pause, went ahead and cleaned up all that, took that wood outside. Most of it's for the deck that's going to go on the outside. That, of course, is on the outside anyway. So just cleaned all that up, got it out of our way so we have room to work. So you'll probably notice we got all this sheetrock here, but I was pulling sheetrock from behind the camera over here. So the reason is For the ceiling, I'm using this. This is 4 foot tall by 12 foot. That's going to be about the biggest that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's. Most people are going to be using that in most cases. And if you have 8 foot ceilings, it works great. If you have 9 foot ceilings, though, of course, it's going to be 1 foot short from top to bottom, which these ceilings are 9 foot. Well, technically, they are about 8'7" down here, and that in this area. And in there, they're a little bit taller, about 3.5 inches taller, so they're more like 8'10" or so, somewhere around there. It's just a rough guesstimate. Not 9 foot, but it's still longer than 8. Upstairs, they're 9 foot ceilings. So we've been using for the walls, we've been using this board over here. So you'll see this in the front. That's another piece of the 4 foot high. You see it's about 6 inches shorter. This is what's called stretch board. And you'll see it is 54 inches or 4.5 feet tall. So that is what's called stretch board. It's a newer, not really new, I mean it's been around for quite a while, but as far as for most homers are concerned, probably it's going to be considered something new. But you cannot get this at Home Depot or Lowe's. You have to go to an actual building supply store. Generally just a sheetrock supply store is going to be where you're going to get it. We've got a place here where we can get it, and it's labor-wise, it's so much simpler. It is cheaper when you add in labor. It's about probably square footage price. It's about the same as the other, but then you have one less seam you got to mud, and all the trying to cut down a whole length and everything. But of course, that lets you get this whole thing. We could have used it on the ceilings, but it is considerably heavier than the other. So generally, you just don't feel like doing that. But of course, we had done that. We had finished up this stairwell part in here, and now we can continue going around through here. But first, since we got this cleaned up and we can actually get back here, we're going to go back here and try and see what we can do about this. Get most of the ceilings hung before the walls, because then we have more room to work. Another item that we have back here is for in the bathroom and for that lower section of the wall there. This is simply, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you're going to find what they call green board. This is just the version that we get at the same place where we bought all the other sheetrock. Just buying it all at the same place gets cheaper than going to there and then Home Depot. And this is just their version of what's called the mold and mildew resistant sheetrock. So that's all that is. And we'll be using that on the lower sections in the bathroom and all. And you'll see where we'll have to rip a strip because of that being shorter. But, at least it's only in those areas and not everywhere. It does save some. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with, we're going to go ahead and insulate this section here. Tyler's going to work on that. And I'm going to try to use up, while he's doing that, I'm just going to work on using up some of these random pieces that we have left over from doing the upstairs and doing all the other odd cuts to try to fill in some of these weird other locations. Alright, so this is a very funky piece we got to cut, but I'm going to use it hopefully to show y'all the way that I will usually cut the different spots. So I've already marked it out. We've got that there and that. So this piece is actually going to go in here, and it has to go back in there and then out this way. We get this light box here, over here. We're going to be coming out around this and then out and around the stairs and then back in and over and around there. So that is what all those marks are for. All right, so a few things that I do. With the long cuts like this, I'll usually pick the longest cut, and whichever one that is, I will use a regular utility knife instead of the keel saw. It just saves time, saves having to cut, and then I'll do what's called a snap cut for there. But for these shorter ones, I'll use a keel saw. And what I like to do whenever I'm doing it is I angle it towards the direction of the piece I'm keeping. This is what we're keeping here. So I'll cut at an angle back through here like this, and then this side I'll cut at an angle upward. And I usually do a pretty heavy angle. It's probably more than 45 degrees. It helps be able to make the edges, if you're slightly off, it gives you a little bit of extra play there. And it also helps it snap where you do snap it easier. And for the snap cut, you can freehand this, which I will do probably over there. But generally when it's especially a long one that is from the ground up, I will use a level. It just makes it so much easier. I only scored the line, I only marked the line on this one for y'all to see. Normally I'd just mark it top and the bottom and then use the level without making a mark. So you're just gonna basically, you just need to sink the knife in about that far. About a 1/4 inch, 3/8. 1/4 inch, 3/8, about right there. It's not much. And then you can just pull the whole sheet away from the wall so you have room behind it. There, you can see behind there. And then all you gotta do is just lightly, it'll just fold open. And you've got that nice little groove. You're basically just cutting the paper on the back. The rest has already been sheared off nice and neat. You'll see how it's nice and clean down through there. So here we're going to do the same thing, but on this side, this is what we're keeping, so we're angling the other way. And this is the longest line, so that's the one that I will do the snap cut on. And for this, with it being horizontal versus vertical, it is much easier to just freehand it. As long as you have a steady hand, you get a line to follow. And if you go slightly one side or the other, as long as you're not more than like a 1/8 inch or so, you should be fine. Because when you're hanging sheetrock, just about all your cuts should give you about a 1/4 inch play anyway. It does not have to be tight because it also has some expansion in there, and then on top of that, the seams and the mud will take care of that. And if anything is slightly out of square in any way, having it super tight is just going to make it real difficult to put up, especially on a weird piece like this without breaking.
Well, I guess I'm at a stopping point, so I'll see y'all in a day or two.
So with the light box, all I've done is mark the center. The circle I drew around it is just to help me remember when I'm marking everything that it's a circle, not something I need to make sure I get all the edges on. This is a sheetrock tool right here. You'll find it in the sheetrock section, usually at the store. And all it is basically it's a compass. It's got a little point that you can put dead in the center, and you can set it. I don't know how well you can see, but it's got increments here that show you where. It's like there's a 1, 2, well, 2. One's here where you can't. It's like almost not see it. 2, 3, and 4. So if you set it here, that is a 2-inch diameter. Putting that right on that 4, that's a 2-inch radius, sorry. So when you add them together, of course, you get 4 inches diameter. And that this is not going to cut all the way through the sheetrock. I have never done it that way because I prefer a cut plus on top of that. But you're supposed to be able to just knock it out with a hammer after you do that. I don't like trying to do that. I just like a much cleaner cut. And then again, with that angle, and especially when I'm cutting around where boxes are going, I will usually angle a really good bit. But it gives you a nice line to follow. If you let the saw do all the work, really, the saw will almost just follow that line you did. And even though it snaps off, you could break it off, but I want to cut it to maintain that nice angle. So, the other thing that what we call this, if I send my guys to get, I just tell him to go get me the twirly durly. And he knows what I'm talking about. All right, so now we got a problem. We're against the wall over there. We've got to go in like this, but we can't because of this drain P-trap here. It's not allowing us to slide it in through there. So what do? Little trick. Pull that out. To avoid having to mud and tape a big seam right here, there's another little trick that you can do. Score it and do a snap cut almost in reverse. So just pick a spot that should be out of the way of this. Let's do it. Let's do it right around here. I'm just going to cut it on the back side. pop it, but you're not wanting to actually cut it. All right, back, out. And now that will bend right there. And we can maneuver it very carefully. All right, so we have finally gotten to Tyler's favorite piece of sheetrock, the last one. I'm free! We are finished with the sheetrock hanging. Upstairs we've got the sheetrock finisher working. You can actually see right there where he's kind of came down the stairs some, so you can see that tape joint. But he's mostly going to just focus on the upstairs until he's done up there, and then he'll come down here. But this whole basement is sheetrocked and ready for him. But we are finished. Now I'm going to clean up in here. But as far as for this video,